Hey guys, enjoy these new 20 stories. We hope you enjoy them. Let us know your thoughts. And as always, most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please smash that subscribe button and hit that like button too. It's free and does so much for us. We're forever grateful. Now to the stories.
The first time I noticed him, I didn't even know who he was. He was just walking down the hallway after my therapy session, earbuds in, hoodie halfway zipped, looking like every other college-aged guy trying not to make eye contact. I didn't think anything of it. I was still wiping my face from crying too hard in that session, the kind of crying that makes your face puffy for hours and your nose sting. The session had hit something I didn't see coming. Not trauma or anything dramatic, just this weird deep ache about being completely invisible in my own life. I guess I wasn't invisible to him. The next night, I got an email. It was this super kind message from someone named Daniel_R, saying he was part of a support group my therapist had recommended and heard I might want a community space. I figured maybe Dr. Rowe mentioned me anonymously to some group she ran, so I didn't question it too much. The message was kind, personal but not creepy, and just the right tone. He said I could talk about whatever or nothing. So I replied. And we kept talking. I didn't even realize how much I looked forward to those messages until I found myself checking my email during class, during lunch, even while I brushed my teeth. It felt safe, I guess, like someone was listening who didn't have a clipboard. And weirdly, he just got it. He brought up things I hadn't even mentioned directly, like how I always felt weird going home for holidays or how public places made me tired, even when I wasn't doing anything. That kind of understanding feels rare, so I ignored the oddness of it. Then he started showing up. The first time I was coming out of the back door of the marketing office where I worked part-time, and he was just there, outside the cafe across the street, acting like he was choosing a pastry. I stared at him, wondering if that was actually Daniel. But he didn't look at me, he just kept playing with his phone. I didn't say anything. Second time, same spot. I chalked it up to coincidence. University town, lots of overlap, right? But then it kept happening. Not once or twice. Every single day. 3 weeks. Different outfits, same casual pose. He started nodding at me like we were becoming familiar strangers. Sometimes he'd have a coffee in hand like he'd been there for a while. One day, he even held the door open in my building and said, "Hey," like we were neighbors. It made my skin crawl, not because of anything he did, but because I realized I hadn't told anyone where I worked. Not Daniel, not even Dr. Rowe. I kept that job off social media because it was boring. I didn't want people knowing where I was. So how did he know? I went through our email chain that night, reread everything. At first, it all seemed fine, until I started noticing patterns. He made references that lined up a little too well with the stuff I'd mentioned in therapy. Stuff I'd only ever told Dr. Rowe, like how I hated my name because my parents chose it from a baby book based on popularity. Or how I never answered unknown numbers because one had triggered a panic attack last fall. That wasn't something you could Google. I Googled Daniel R. Nothing. No forums, no groups, no support sites. Nothing that matched. I even reverse searched the profile picture from his email. It was some old headshot from a university's counseling flyer. Stock photo. The next session with Dr. Rowe, I brought it up. I asked her if she had a Daniel in any of her groups. She blinked, shook her head. I asked if she ever mentioned my name to other clients. She said no, of course not. But when I mentioned the emails and that the guy had been showing up near my job, her face did something I didn't expect. It dropped. Just for a second. Then she asked me to forward the emails. I left that session more confused than ever. That night, he emailed again. But the tone was different. He said he felt close to me. Said he understood why I didn't respond to him in person. He said he liked being near me, even if I didn't know it. That's when I knew it was real. Not just some online weirdo. He was watching me every day. And then, I don't even know why I did it, but I searched Dr. Rowe's full name online. Not just her credentials, but family, obituaries, LinkedIn, the whole thing. It didn't take long. She had one son, Nathaniel, around my age, majoring in behavioral psych, lives in town, and there it was. His school email matched the address Daniel_R used, just slightly tweaked. It was him, her son. I didn't go back to therapy. I didn't respond to his last message, but I started getting calls from blocked numbers. I started seeing little notes tucked under my windshield. Nothing threatening, but just close. Close in a way that made me feel trapped. Like he wasn't trying to hurt me, but he still wanted to remind me that he could. That he saw me. That was invisible to him. Not anymore. The weirdest part, I think Dr. Rowe knew. Maybe not at first, but after I confronted her with the emails, she must have recognized something in them. The way he wrote, the specific stuff he quoted. She never followed up, never called, never warned me. She just let it drop. I changed jobs, stopped using that email, got a new phone. I walked different routes to work now, still hadn't gone back to therapy. Some days I almost missed those messages. Not him, just the version of him that felt like a safe place. But that was fake, just like everything else. There's this guy that jogs near my new building every morning. Wears a beanie, always looks down at his shoes. I tell myself it's not Nathaniel, but I don't walk out until he's gone. It started with glitter pens and construction paper. That's how most of kindergarten goes, honestly. My daughter, Elle, was obsessed with her teacher, Miss Lizo. She'd come home with handmade cards, little stickers in her lunchbox that Miss Lizo gave me because I was brave at show and tell. And she'd sing her name like it was magic. I didn't mind it. Teachers like that are rare, the ones who make 5-year-olds feel special just for existing. I actually thought it was sweet. The first text was normal. Reminder about a school event, some kind of bring your family pancake breakfast thing. It was around 7 p.m., which was slightly late for a school message, but still within range. I replied, "Thanks, sounds good," and forgot about it. Then the next one came at 2:14 a.m. I remember the exact time because my phone lit up, and I was half asleep feeding our dog who was whining to go out. The message was super cheerful and way too long for that time of night. Something like, just a heads up that Elle might be sleepy tomorrow. Full moon energy makes some of the kids hyper today, with a random gif of a cartoon owl waving. I didn't reply, just locked my phone and went back to bed thinking it was maybe a mistake or she scheduled the message wrong. But it kept happening. Not every night, but often enough. Random times, 1:58 a.m., 3:21 a.m., 4:05 a.m., always a school-related message, but just off, like reminders about the bake sale, but with way too much personal tone. Or updates on how Elle seemed quiet that day, but she felt her energy shifting beautifully. That's not a normal teacher text, and I never gave her my number directly. I figured she got it from the school system, but even then this wasn't a mass message. It was only ever me. Then there were the notes. At first, I thought they were just leftover drawings from Elle's backpack, but then I noticed they were addressed to me. Little folded pieces of construction paper left in my mailbox, like actual physical letters. One was a drawing of me. Well, I think it was me. Sitting in the school gym on orientation night, next to Elle, with a speech bubble that said, "You looked really tired that night. It's okay to cry when you're alone." That made my stomach twist. Because yeah, I'd cried after that night, after putting Elle to bed, but I hadn't told anyone that. Not my sister, not my ex, no one. It wasn't a big breakdown or anything. Just one of those quiet, slow cries when everything stacks up and you feel like you're holding a life together with chewing gum and frozen pizza. But that night felt private, and now it was in crayon in my mailbox. I started paying attention. At parent-teacher meetings, Liza would lean in way too close, lower her voice even when no one else was around, and say things like, "You always wear neutral tones. I think you're afraid of standing out. What am I supposed to do with that?" She wasn't wrong, but how did she know that? It's not something I ever say out loud. She'd ask me questions that were framed like compliments, like, "You seem like someone who cares a lot for others. Don't you ever want someone to carry you for once?" I tried keeping things polite but distant. I told the school I preferred communication through the official app. I stopped replying to her texts, but she didn't stop sending them. They got weirder, more intimate. One of them said, "You remind me of the moon. Soft, quiet, hiding something bright. Don't let the wrong people dim you." Another one said she had a dream where we were sitting on swings at midnight, sharing secrets like sisters. I didn't know how to respond to that, so I just didn't. One morning, I woke up and found a note slipped under my front door. It was on the back of a class attendance sheet. It said, "You looked beautiful when you smiled at the art table yesterday. Elle gets that light from you." I wasn't even in the classroom yesterday. The windows were tinted. Parents weren't allowed in during project hours, so how did she see me? That same week, my neighbor told me she saw someone parked across from our house around 3 a.m. for 2 nights in a row, just sitting in their car, lights off. She thought it might have been a food delivery driver, but no one came to the door. I didn't order anything. At this point, I felt stupid, like I should have done something earlier. I tried to tell myself it wasn't that serious, that she was just overly enthusiastic, too emotionally attached to her students, maybe going through something. But then she left a note that mentioned my tattoo. It's a small thing on my ribcage. You can't see it unless I'm in a bikini or changing clothes. And I know I didn't post it online. She wrote, "The compass is a good symbol. I hope you always know your way." That was my knew for sure she'd been watching me at home. I went to the principal, brought the notes, the texts. The one under the door, I didn't even try to sugarcoat it. I just said, "I think Lizo is watching me, not just my daughter, me." They handled it quietly, called it a boundary violation. She was asked to take a leave. They didn't tell the other parents much, just that she had a family emergency. I'll cry for a week, asking where Miss Lizo went. I didn't know what to tell her. Then about 2 weeks later, I got one last note. No envelope, no glitter, just a plain sheet of printer paper taped to my back gate. Sometimes when you help someone find their voice, they forget who taught them to speak. That was it. I took it down and didn't show anyone. She hasn't reached out since, but sometimes when I drive past the school, I still check the staff parking lot without meaning to. I look for her car. I don't even know what I'd do if I saw it. Elle started drawing her own cards for me now. She leaves them in my bag, little things that say you're the best. Or, "I love your face." I keep all of them in a box by my bed. And every night before I sleep, I triple check the lock on the back door. He was just the guy at the coffee shop who remembered my order. That's literally all it started as. I'd go there most mornings before work, same spot, same time. I'd order a vanilla cold brew with oat milk and a spinach feta wrap. He'd smile, ask how my day was going, write my name on the cup, which never really struck me as anything special. That's what baristas do, right? Remember your order, make you feel seen for 5 seconds so you tip better. I never thought anything beyond that. His name tag said Brad. He was kind of quiet, always had his hat pulled down low, didn't talk much to the other workers. I remember he had these really light eyes, like almost gray, and he'd stare a little too long sometimes, but not in a way that set off any alarms. I just figured he was awkward. Not everyone who works in customer service actually likes people. After maybe a month of going there regularly, he started saying stuff like, "You looked tired yesterday. Hope you're doing better today." I'd laugh it off, not really processing how he could tell I looked tired. It wasn't like we were having conversations. I ordered through the app half the time and just picked it up from the counter. But again, it didn't register as weird at first. I thought maybe I'd said something once that he remembered, or maybe he was just being polite. That kind of vague, fake, deep comment people say in passing. I didn't think anything of it until I went to the gym one night. Different part of town, not even near the coffee shop, and found something in my locker. It was a printed photo of me. Not a selfie or something from my socials. This was a photo someone else took, of me standing on the sidewalk outside my apartment holding a grocery bag on the phone. It was grainy and zoomed in, like it was taken from across the street or maybe from a parked car. Taped to the back of it was a note, "You always look so focused, like you're solving a puzzle no one else sees." I stood there for way too long just holding it, trying to make sense of it. My stomach was doing flips and my brain couldn't keep up. I kept looking around the locker room like someone was watching me, but no one was. Just the hum of hair dryers and girls talking about their weekend. I left immediately. Didn't finish my workout. Didn't even change out of my gym clothes. That night, I searched through my socials. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I looked at everything I'd posted recently. I hadn't tagged locations in over a year. I never posted my street name. But I did have a couple mirror selfies with part of my gym logo showing in the corner. That was probably all it took. I didn't go to the coffee shop for a week. But the second I did, because I was tired and stupid and told myself maybe it wasn't connected, Brad was there. And the second I walked in, he smiled like nothing had changed. Said, "Thought you moved or something." I froze. Didn't know what to say. He handed me my drink, already made, with my name on the cup like usual. But when I walked out, I saw he'd written something on the side of the sleeve. "Strong body, stronger mind." I threw the whole drink in the trash. just right there on the sidewalk. My hands were shaking, and I didn't even know why yet. But I knew I wasn't going back. Over the next 2 weeks, I found 4 more photos. Always in my locker at the gym. Always printed on glossy photo paper. Me walking the dog, me checking the mail. One of me at my kitchen window, which I didn't even realize could be seen from the street. The captions got weirder too. One said, "You're even more beautiful when you don't know someone's watching." I stopped going to the gym altogether. Canceled the membership. Started parking in different places. Switched my grocery store. I deleted most of my public accounts and made everything else private. Still, it felt like he was one step ahead of me all the time. Like he'd already gotten everything he needed before I even realized I needed to hide. Eventually, I told the gym manager. She didn't believe me at first until I showed her the photos. They pulled security footage. That's when it became real. Brad. Walking in casually, using a keycard from a free trial he got under a different name, waiting until the locker room was empty, and slipping the photos in like he belonged there. The gym banned him. Said they were contacting the police. I didn't hear anything after that. No follow-up. No updates. I didn't want to push it. I just wanted it to stop. Then he emailed me. I don't know how he got my email. I never gave it to him. Never used it at the gym or the coffee shop. The subject line was just sorry. The message said, "I wasn't trying to scare you. I just saw something in you I didn't want to lose sight of." That's the last thing I ever got from him. But it still messes with me. I still hesitate before I post anything, even the most harmless stuff. I still scan every room I walk into, every sidewalk, every car parked a little too long with someone sitting inside. I change my routines, my routes, my phone number. Sometimes I still go to that same coffee shop, not because I want to, but because I want to know he's really not there anymore. I go in, order under a different name, and I wait just in case. I never see him, but I never stop looking either. I hadn't thought about her in years, like not even a passing memory. Faiza was just this weird part of college, the kind of roommate experience you tell stories about for laughs, not because it actually meant anything. We weren't friends exactly. We just shared a crappy off-campus apartment junior year because we both applied late and everything else was full. She was the type to play slow piano music at 2 a.m. and leave motivational quotes written in dry erase marker on the fridge like pain is growth. That kind of energy. I mostly kept to myself, and she had this mysterious vibe like she was always planning something that never actually happened. There was this one night, just one, where we got really drunk and stayed up talking. I don't even know how it happened. I think I had a bad date, or maybe she did, and we ended up in the kitchen drinking cheap wine and trauma bonding. And I told her this thing. Something I never told anyone. It wasn't illegal or anything, just personal and messy. I told her about this mistake I made a long time ago, something that involved someone I shouldn't have gotten close to when I was already in a relationship. It didn't turn into anything, but it was enough to leave this guilt sitting in my chest for years. I'd never said it out loud, but she had that face like she was really listening, like she got it. The next day we didn't talk about it, or ever again after that. It was like it never happened. Then we graduated, moved, changed numbers, and that was that. 12 years later, I got a letter in the mail, not an email, not a text. A literal envelope with no return address. My name was written in Sharpie. Inside was a note that just said, "What would your spouse think if they knew the full version of who you are?" And take two, it was a photocopy of an old picture from our college apartment. Me and Faiza, sitting on the floor, drunk and laughing with red plastic cups in our hands. At first, I thought it was some weird spam thing or maybe one of those dumb marketing gimmicks. But the picture, I didn't even remember it being taken, and only she had that photo. It was from that one night. I recognized the tank top I wore in the calendar on the wall behind us. I stared at the note for a while. Then I threw it out. I didn't want to give it power. 2 weeks later, there was another one. Same envelope. Inside was a list. Printed, not handwritten. Bullet points. It read like a breakdown of my life. 2014. Married Jay, 2016. Bought your first house. 2019. Joined your current firm. And then the last line. But none of that erases 2009, does it? That's why I knew it was her. The way she phrased it. Erase. That's exactly how I described it to her back then. I told her I wanted to erase it, pretend it never happened. She repeated that word a few times that night. It stuck with me. I hadn't spoken to her in over a decade. No social media connection. I didn't even know where she lived. I looked her up just to see, and nothing came up. No LinkedIn. No Facebook. Like she just disappeared. Which somehow made it worse, because it meant she was watching from somewhere I couldn't see. Then it got more direct. I started getting emails from different throwaway accounts. Always the same tone, like she was trying to remind me of who I really was. Like she thought she knew the true version of me that no one else did. One email said, "The things we bury grow their own roots. You of all people should know that." Another one had a screenshot of my company's website with my bio circled. She wrote, "Is this who you pretend to be now?" It wasn't threatening exactly, but it felt invasive, like she was constantly one click behind me, one memory away from showing up in my inbox again. I changed my email. She found the new one. I blocked the accounts. More popped up. All different. All saying just enough to make my skin crawl, but not enough to do anything about. Then somehow she got into contact with someone I work with. One day a partner at the firm pulled me aside and asked if I knew someone named Farah. Close enough to Faiza that it couldn't be random. Apparently she'd emailed a general firm address claiming to be a journalist researching professional women with complicated personal histories. She'd mentioned my full name. That's when I stopped rushing it off. I told my husband. Left out the details, but gave him the broad strokes. An old roommate who didn't know boundaries. Someone who was using stuff from my past to try and shake things up. He didn't press me, which was a relief. He just said, "Help me what you need." I asked him to set up a security system. We changed all our passwords. I started using burner emails for anything personal. It still didn't stop. The last time I heard from her, it was a voice message. She called from a number with no caller ID. Left a 30-second message. It was just her breathing for a few seconds. Then she said, "I kept that secret all these years because I thought you deserved to carry it. But now I think maybe you don't." Then the line went dead. That was 6 months ago, nothing since. Sometimes I wonder what she wanted. Not money. Not revenge, exactly. Maybe just to remind me that she could. That she still existed. That I hadn't completely buried everything. I keep waiting for the next message, the next envelope, but it hasn't come. Still, every time I check the mail, I flip through slowly, just in case. I don't even remember what her voice sounded like before that call. Now I can't forget it. I used to keep my laptop open all the time. Not even for a reason, really just one of those habits you don't think about. Come home, drop keys, shoes off, laptop flips open, Netflix or whatever plays in the background. My place is small, one bedroom, so that screen basically sat in the middle of my life. I never thought twice about the webcam light. Why would I? It was just a tiny dot that stayed off. Until it didn't. Timo was one of those tech support guys from my internet provider. You don't really think about those people unless something breaks. My connection had been dropping every night around the same time, like right when I tried to stream something. So I finally called. I got him twice. Once when I reported the issue. The second time when it magically got worse. He sounded normal at first, kind of bored, a little too casual. Said he'd check my modem remotely and call me back if he needed access. I didn't think much of it until the next time I talked to him. He said something off. He asked if the yellow throw pillows on my couch were new. I remember freezing mid-step. I'd bought them a week ago and hadn't posted anything online about them. I even checked my photos and texts later to make sure I hadn't mentioned them. I brushed it off. Maybe I told a friend about them during the call and forgot. But then it kept happening. Next call, he asked if my cat always knocked over my coffee mug when I played guitar. That one hit different. I had just started learning and usually practiced in my room with my laptop open on my desk across from my bed. No one knew I played. No one had seen me do it. I barely even knew if I was getting better. That night I covered the webcam with a sticker and shut the laptop. First time I did that in a long time, but it didn't stop him. He called again a few days later and said he finished updating my modem remotely, but then he casually said I might want to move my lamp so the glare wouldn't bounce off my mirror at night. I didn't have a mirror behind me in the living room. I had one in my bedroom. He shouldn't have been able to see it. It was this mix of anger and that weird buzz in your chest when something's really, really wrong. I called the provider and asked if Timo still worked there. The woman on the phone sounded confused, said there wasn't a Timo in their support team. At least not one who handled my region. That sent me into a full spiral. I took my laptop to a repair place. Told them I thought someone messed with it. The guy there confirmed what I was scared of. Remote access software had been installed. He said it could have been done during a support session if I ever gave control, which I did, the first time. Timo, if that was even his real name, must have installed it then. I trashed the laptop immediately, bought a new one with cash, didn't even log into the same accounts for a while, but I still felt like he was around. Weeks passed, no weird calls. I thought maybe it was over. Until I found a note, slid under my door. It wasn't threatening, not exactly. It was just a line written in neat penmanship. Why don't you play anymore? My guitar was still in the same spot, untouched for weeks. I didn't have a clue how he knew that. I hadn't opened the new laptop in my room. I barely used my phone there, but someone had to be close enough to know I wasn't playing. I started noticing a car parked across the street. Not always, not enough to call anyone, but enough to mess with your brain. Sometimes it walked past and the window would roll up just before I could glance in. Other times it would be empty, but in the exact same spot with the same dent in the bumper. I moved. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving, just packed and changed cities. Got a new number, ditched every online profile I had, but I didn't throw the note away. I kept it in a glove box like some kind of reminder not to get comfortable. Months later, at my new place, my new job, I felt like I could breathe again. I had routines. Friends. A little coffee shop I liked. It was decent. Then one morning I logged into my new email. I had a message. No subject. No text in the body. Just an attachment. A grainy photo of me asleep on my couch. The layout wasn't for my new apartment, though. It was my old place. The couch I'd thrown out, the cheek curtains I never liked. The exact angle you get from my laptop webcam. It didn't make sense. That couch didn't exist anymore. That apartment wasn't mine. But someone had held on to that photo long enough to wait. Wait until I felt safe again. Just to remind me. I never replied. I changed my email again. Tossed a new laptop. It's weird, people always talk about hackers and stalkers like they're just creeps online. But when it's someone who's heard you breathe in your sleep, who knows how you look when you laugh at your own TV, it's something else. It's like they didn't just watch your life. They edited themselves into it. And honestly, I still don't know what he wanted. He never asked for money, never threatened me, just watched. Like that was enough. Like being in the same room as me without ever being seen was the whole goal. Now I don't keep any electronics in my bedroom. I leave my laptop in a drawer. Phone in another room. No smart speakers. Nothing with a mic. Maybe it's over. Maybe you have done. Or maybe I'm just not interesting anymore. It started with a follow request. That's the part that gets me now, how small it all looked at first. Just a profile with a random username, no posts, no followers, nothing. It wasn't even trying to be sneaky in a dramatic way. Just plain quiet, like it wanted to blend in with all the other bots. I thought it was a spam account and deleted the request without thinking. 2 days later, another request. Same vibe, same blank profile. I ignored it. This kept happening for maybe 2 weeks. Different accounts each time, all with that same empty energy. I figured it was someone bored or messing around. Didn't really think it had anything to do with me, until I started noticing where I was showing up. The first time was at a sushi spot near my apartment. I was out with a couple friends, nothing planned or posted, and suddenly I noticed someone sitting alone at the bar. She had a hat pulled low and was looking at her phone the whole time, but every time I glanced over, I felt like she looked away just a little too fast. I didn't recognize her right away, but something felt familiar. I tried to let it go. Then it happened again. I went to this breakfast place downtown, spur of the moment thing, just me and a book. About halfway through my meal, I saw her again. Same girl, different hat. She sat by the window and barely touched her food. Just kept glancing around like she was waiting for someone. I still couldn't place her. That's what bugged me. It wasn't until the third time that I made the connection. I went to this taco truck I hit up sometimes after work, parked near a skate park. I was walking away with my food when I heard someone behind me laugh. Like actually laugh out loud, not just a normal sound, but this awkward little fake laugh like someone trying to rehearse one. That's when I turned and saw her sitting in her car. This old silver sedan with the windows half down and a phone pointed toward me through the steering wheel. And then it hit me. It was Kara, my little brother's ex. I hadn't seen her in a year. They broke up after a messy 3-month thing that ended with her slashing his tires. He swore up and down that she'd been following him around, showing up at his gym and pretending it was coincidence. She even tried to run into our mom at the grocery store, which was weird enough at the time. But I had barely talked to her back then. Maybe once or twice when she came by the house. We weren't close. I stood there, holding my food, staring at her for way too long. She didn't move, just smiled. Not even a real smile. It was more like she wanted me to know she wasn't hiding anymore. That night, I went through all my Instagram posts. I realized I'd left location tagging on for almost every photo. Not the pin drop kind, but close enough. You post a pic in front of a neon sign or a weird mural and anyone can Google it. I deleted all ones that could give anything away. Switched my account to private, changed my handle. But it didn't stop. I started seeing her car everywhere, parked across the street from the bar I liked, behind me in line at a donut shop, once outside the laundromat where I did my vetting. I kept telling myself it was just paranoia, that maybe she lived nearby, but then I caught her doing it for real. I was meeting a friend at a Thai place on the east side. We were walking to our cars after eating, and there she was, sitting in the same silver car, but this time I saw the phone. It was sitting on the dashboard pointed right at us. The screen was recording. My friend didn't notice, but I did. I stopped, turned, and walked straight toward her. She panicked. I saw her scramble to grab the phone, and she got out so fast she clipped the curb. Left this ugly scratch of metal on concrete and disappeared around the corner. I reported it. Took down the plate, even filed something with the cops, but they didn't take it seriously. Just told me to keep my distance and call if she showed up again. It wasn't until a week later that I found out just how long she'd been doing it. I got a package, no return label. Inside was a little notebook. Not a journal, just one of those small grid ones you used for lists. It was filled with dates, times, and locations, like she'd been writing down every place I went, what I wore, what I ordered. There were little sketches too. My backpack, the tattoo on my arm, the type of sneakers I wore, stuff I didn't even realize I did. One page had a note scrawled across it. You're more interesting than him anyway. That's when everything clicked. She wasn't following me because of anything I did. She just redirected whatever obsession she had with my brother onto me, like I was the next best target. I left town for a while after that. Stayed with a cousin out of state, didn't post anything, didn't check social media. I stopped using ride apps, walked everywhere. Started looking at every parked car like it might have her in it. I didn't sleep much. When I finally came back, I filed for a restraining order. It got denied because she hadn't made any direct threats. They said following someone wasn't enough without proof of intent. That made me feel insane, like I had to wait for her to actually do something dangerous before anyone would take it seriously. I hadn't seen her in a while. Maybe she moved on. Or maybe she's just watching from farther away now. Sometimes I wonder how many fake accounts are still following me. How many messages she might have sent that I'll never see. I keep everything locked down now. No photos with backgrounds. No tags. No sharing plans before I've already left the spot. But that doesn't mean I feel safer. Sometimes when I'm out late or sitting in traffic and I see a silver car 2 spots back, I get this rush in my chest, like she's still out there waiting for me to forget. My neighbors moved out, and this new family moved in right at the start of summer. Typical suburban thing. Dad with a truck, mom in yoga pants, 2 kids always yelling about TikTok. They were fine. I didn't really care. I just liked that the dad mowed the lawn on time and the dog they had didn't bark like the last one. Kai was their oldest. I think he was maybe 19. Barely talked. Wore hoodies even when it was hot. Always had his earbuds in, the type to keep his head down when you passed him on the sidewalk. At first I thought he was just shy. I'm not someone who tries to be friends with neighbors or anything, but I smiled at him a few times when I was getting the mail or walking in my car. He never smiled back, just nodded. Then one day I came home and found him in my yard, shirt off, pushing a lawnmower across my front patch. I didn't even ask him to. I stood there in the driveway, kind of confused. He looked up and said something like, "Figured I'd help out since you haven't had it done in a bit." which was true. My yard looked rough. I'd been working a lot and didn't really care if the grass got long. I told him thanks and I asked him how much I owed him. He waved it off and said not to worry about it. Then he walked off, dragging the mower back next door. I stood there for a second wondering if I'd just been guilted into free yard work. The next morning, I found his hoodie draped over one of the patio chairs. Just this gray thing, nothing on it, but it was definitely his. I figured he left it by accident and dropped it off on his porch on my way out. A couple days later, he showed up again. This time with a weed whacker. Just started trimming the edges of the lawn without asking. I looked out the window, debating whether I should say something, but I didn't want it to be rude. When he finished, I stepped out and offered him a bottle of water. He said thanks, then just sort of hovered for a second. Then he goes, "Hey, I think I left my hoodie again," and points toward my backyard like he already knew it was there. I checked and yeah, there it was again, over the fence rail. This time it was a different one. Black, same size. I gave it back and he smiled. First time I'd seen him smile. It didn't really reach his eyes though. I thought it was weird but didn't make a big deal out of it. Over the next couple of weeks, he kept showing up, always just helping out. Always leaving something behind, a hoodie, a glove, one time even his phone. I find it sitting on the patio table with the screen still on. I should have known something was off when I noticed the screen had my Spotify open. I started locking my gate after that. Not like a serious lock, just a little latch with a pin. The next day, he texted me. That's when I realized he'd gotten my number somehow. The message just said, "Hey, your gate's stuck. Want me to fix it?" I never gave him my number. Not to his parents, not to anyone on that side of the street. I didn't even know his last name. I didn't respond. I deleted the message. That night, I checked all the doors and windows like twice. It got worse the following weekend. I came home from grocery shopping and my front door was unlocked. Not open, just not latched. I stood there for a minute thinking maybe I forgot. Maybe I didn't close it all the way or something. But I knew I had. I walked inside, heart going fast, and looked around. Everything was in place. Nothing stolen. Nothing weird. Until I got to the bathroom. There were footprints on the mat. Still damp. I hadn't used that shower in 2 days. I lived alone, no pets, no guests. That was it. I bought a security camera and installed it by the door that night. 2 days later, I caught him on video. Middle of the afternoon, broad daylight. I'd gone off to run errands. Kev walked right up to my back door, hoodie up, and used something to pop the lock. He didn't even hesitate, like he'd done it before. He walked in like he lived there. Stayed inside for 11 minutes, then walked back out and locked the door behind him. I felt sick. My hands were actually shaking watching the footage. I went straight to the police with it. They filed a report, but said they couldn't do much unless something got damaged or stolen. Said they'd talk to his parents. His mom came over the next day with cookies. Not even kidding. Like some weird suburban apology ritual. She said Kay had been going through a phase and just wanted to be helpful. That he used to mow lawns back in their old neighborhood and sometimes forgot boundaries. I told her I didn't want him near my property anymore. She nodded a lot, apologized again, and left. But he didn't stop. The last straw was about a week later. I was in the shower, door locked, music playing low. When I got out, there was a hoodie hanging on the back of the bathroom door. I didn't hear anything. Didn't see anything. But I know that thing wasn't there when I walked in. I don't even remember putting clothes on. I grabbed my keys, drove to a friend's place, and stayed there for 2 nights. Filed another report. Got a real deadbolt installed. Took time off work just to figure out what the hell I was going to do. Eventually they moved. No warning. No goodbye. Just a U-Haul one morning, and by afternoon the house was empty. I still don't know what he wanted. He never stole anything. Never said anything threatening. Just kept inserting himself into my space, like he was waiting for some kind of invitation I never gave. Every now and then, I'll wake up thinking I heard the back gate rattle. I check the camera, always nothing. But I still look. Every time. Because he was quiet, and polite, and patient. That's the part that freaks me out the most. There's something weird about working in a place where people pretend to like you. You start reading into stuff that's probably nothing, like how your name comes up in meetings you're not even in, or how someone laughs just a second too late at your joke like they're rehearsing being normal. That's how it felt working under Janet. She was the HR manager of my job, one of those people who always carried around a branded water bottle and wore flats like she lived in them. She talked a lot about wellness and always used words like alignment and bandwidth like they meant something outside of emails. I never really talked to her beyond the basics. You don't try to be friends with HR, you try to stay invisible. But at some point, that stopped being an option. It started when I applied for a promotion, just an internal shift, new title, better pay, same general department. My manager backed me. Said I was the best candidate, told me to go for it. I was already doing half the responsibilities anyway. So I submitted everything, did the interviews, and felt like it went solid. A week later, I got the rejection email. No feedback, just a generic, "We've gone with another candidate." It stung, but I moved on. Or I tried to. That's when stuff started happening. People in the office started acting different. Not all at once. Just little things. Someone would stop talking when I walked into the break room, or I'd catch a weird glance in a meeting. The kind that people think you don't notice, but you do. Like you're suddenly the person no one trusts around sensitive info. At first, I figured I was overthinking. Everyone's insecure after a rejection. But then someone on another team asked me completely casually, "Hey, did you really say that thing about wanting your boss's job?" I was like, what? I ever said that? I'd vented about work in a few DMs and maybe joked around in private, but never said anything like that out loud. That's when I remembered the emails. I used to email myself stuff. Notes, reminders, even thoughts I didn't want to keep in a doc. Just little things like "tell Sarah she interrupts you too much," or "need to quit before I punch the coffee machine." Nothing that serious, just venting to myself. I used my work email because it was already logged in, and I didn't think twice about it. No one ever mentioned it. It felt private, even though deep down I knew it probably wasn't. Then came the all-staff meeting. We were doing one of those icebreaker things I usually just tune out, and our VP made a dumb joke about trusting your coworkers. Everyone laughed, and Janet looked at me from across the room and said, "Unless they're planning to rage quit and take down the office printer on the way out, right?" Everyone laughed. I smiled like it was funny, even though I wanted to throw something. I'd written something like that in one of those emails to myself. Not word for word, but close enough. No one else could have known. That's when I knew. She was reading my emails. I don't know when she started or how she justified it, but she was definitely in them. She had access to the admin tools and apparently no boundaries. I checked the activity logs, which I wasn't even sure I had access to, but there it was. Her name, logged in as admin, accessing my account multiple times over the past month. I felt gross, like I'd been leaving my diary open on my desk every night and pretending it was locked. After that, it spiraled. Little comments in meetings that lined up with things I'd typed in drafts but never said. People started avoiding me. I got pulled into a coaching session about professionalism based on an anonymous complaint. When I asked for details, Janet said it was confidential. My work didn't change, but my reviews got colder. My manager couldn't even look me in the eye during our one-on-ones. I started documenting everything. Every weird thing she said. Every login time I could grab. I stopped using my work email for anything but the most robotic responses. I basically turned into a ghost at work, just clocking in and clocking out. Then one day she pulled me into a room. It was just the two of us, and she shut the door. Didn't even pretend it was about anything official. Just looked at me and said, "You're not very careful, are you?" And she smiled, like she enjoyed saying it out loud, like it was fun for her, like she'd been waiting to see how long it would take me to figure it out. I didn't say anything, just walked out and went straight to it. Filed a report, filed one with legal too, and then I waited. Nothing happened. For 2 weeks, it was dead quiet, and I got a call from an unknown number. It was a woman from another company. Said she used to work with Janet and that she'd heard about what was happening through a friend. She told me Janet had a pattern, that she liked control, that I wasn't the first person she'd done this to. Apparently, she once forwarded someone's personal browser history to their manager after they called out sick. Said it was a security concern. That person quit. No one ever filed anything. I decided I wasn't going to be like that. I sent all my documentation to an employment lawyer, the logs, the comments, the pattern. She said I had a case, but it would take time. So I waited. Right before I planned to formally leave, Janet quit. No warning, no email, just gone. Rumor was she got a better offer, but by that, I think she knew it was coming. That the lawyer's letter made it to the board, or maybe someone else finally spoke up. I don't know. What I do know is that for months, someone was inside my head reading thoughts I thought were safe, twisting them, dropping them into real life like breadcrumbs, and watching me react. People talk about invasion of privacy like it's some theoretical thing, but it's not. It's walking into a room and realizing you don't know who actually knows you anymore, because your own words got taken and turned into rumors. Janet made me feel like I didn't exist at work, just this character she got to rewrite whenever she wanted. She didn't need to yell or threaten or send anything scary. She just slowly rewrote how people saw me until I started to believe it too. She's gone now, but I still don't use email the same way. I barely even write anything down anymore. It's not fear exactly, it's just tired. Like I'd rather forget what I was going to say than have someone else say it for me. So Josh and I weren't even close like that. We have the kind of high school friendship that just happens because you're in the same classes and both think the others are dumber than they let on. After graduation, we didn't really talk, and I wasn't mad about it. He always had this fake deep vibe, like he was permanently trying to impress a philosophy teacher that didn't exist. He was the guy who made everything into a debate, even pizza toppings. We reconnected briefly at a mutual friend's wedding like 2 years ago. Had a drink, caught up, did the whole we should hang out sometime routine that everyone knows won't happen. I thought that was it. Done. Move on. But then last year, out of nowhere, stuff at work started getting weird. I work in marketing for a small firm. Tight team, fast deadlines, decent pay. My boss is one of those cool but stressed guys who wears Patagonia vests and uses Slack like it's his love language. We got along fine, until he stopped answering me. It wasn't obvious at first. I'd message him and he'd reply with one-word stuff. Then I noticed he stopped tagging me in project updates. I didn't get invited to a few meetings I normally would have been in. I figured maybe he was just buried in work or in a bad mood. Then I found out from someone else that he thought I was dealing with something personal and taking a step back. Which I wasn't. I had no clue what he meant. I scheduled a check-in, just to clear the air, and that's when he hit me with it. Hey, listen, if something's going on in your personal life, you don't have to hide it. Just let us know if you need time. I sat there confused as hell. I told him I was fine, and then I asked what made him think otherwise. He opened his mouth, stopped, then just kind of nodded. Said he must have misread something, and that was it. But it wasn't. Later that day, I got an alert from LinkedIn. Someone had added a new job under my name. It said I was now consulting independently and listed fake clients. I hadn't posted it. I hadn't logged into LinkedIn in weeks. I checked my account. Locked out. Password didn't work. Same thing happened with Facebook. Then Twitter. Then some random email I hadn't used since college. Every platform I touched was either changed, deleted, or suddenly had new posts I didn't write. There were posts under my name saying things like, "Can't believe how toxic my company's been lately," and "Funny how coworkers smile to your face, then talk behind your back." Real edgy, dramatic stuff that sounded like a 16-year-old's diary. It didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. Josh. He tagged himself in one of the fake LinkedIn posts. As a reference, like a literal job reference. It said, Josh R., previous colleague, collaborator, like we had this long professional history. I stared at it for a long time, trying to convince myself it was a joke. But there were dozens of accounts, some pretending to be me, others pretending to be people in my circle. Fake messages, weird DMs. Even one that claimed I'd started a podcast, which linked to this SoundCloud account with my name on it. Voice was AI generated and chopped up from a YouTube panel I was in years ago. I reported everything I could, reached out to platforms, changed my passwords, but it kept spreading. And then it got worse. He started messaging my boss, pretending to be me. I didn't know this until my boss forwarded me one of the emails. It came from a fake email address, something like myrealname.marketing@mail.com. Mail to myrealname.marketing@mail.com. And the email said I was planning to quit, that I was mentally checked out, and that I might go public with some things. My boss was confused and honestly a little scared. He thought I'd snapped. That email almost cost me my job. I finally managed to get Josh on the phone. I still had his number. I didn't want to scream, I just wanted to know what the hell he was doing. He answered and acted like it was nothing. "Seth, I thought I was doing you a favor, like creating fake accounts impersonating me, and nuking my reputation was somehow helpful." He said I wasn't leveraging my full potential, and that he created a narrative that people would engage with, word for word, like he thought he was marketing me like a brand. I hung up on him. He kept going for another 3 weeks. I started getting emails from strangers about my story, like they'd read something online about how I'd been wronged by my company. I even got an invitation to speak on a podcast about workplace trauma. I declined all of it. Eventually, I got a lawyer involved. Not because I was trying to sue, but because I needed documentation. We sent a cease and desist. I reported everything to the platforms again. I froze my credit. It was like it had been split in two, me and the version of me he was building online. And then it just stopped. No warning, no final message, just silence. I still don't know why he did it. We weren't enemies. We weren't close. Maybe that's what made it easier for him. I was just distant enough to be a blank canvas. The worst part is people still remember some of that stuff. A few posts made it to industry Reddit threads. There are still screenshots floating around of me saying I hated my job or that I'd been blacklisted. Some of my coworkers never fully looked at me the same after. You can't unring that bell. Sometimes I check my name online just to see what's still out there. I keep finding new accounts he must have made. Ghost accounts. They don't post anymore, but they're still there. Just sitting there. Waiting maybe. Growing up, Melanie was always just kind of there. My cousin on my dad's side, younger than me by 2 years. We weren't close, but we saw each other enough. Same cookouts, same holidays, same plastic chairs in the backyard with someone always burning the hot dogs. She was the type who'd copy your art project in school and then get praised for it, like somehow she made it better just by acting more excited about it. But I never thought it was anything deep. She just liked to tag along. She wore my hand-me-downs, watched the shows I watch, begged her mom to get the same haircut I had in 7th grade. Harmless stuff. Weird maybe, but family's weird, right? We grew up, drifted apart like people do. I went to school, got engaged, started working. She bounced around jobs, posted a lot of selfies, and every now and then she liked something I posted on Instagram. That was it. Until she started copying everything again. Not like childhood mimicry. I mean full-on, uncomfortable replication. It started small. She dyed her hair the same shade I'd just switched to dark copper, not even a popular color at the time. I didn't think much of it. I posted a photo of my new bangs. She posted hers 2 days later with the same side part, same pose, even the same background music on her reel. Then the clothes. I wore this red wrap dress to a friend's engagement dinner. Posted one pic. 2 days later, Melanie posted a mirror selfie in the exact same one, from the same store. Not similar, identical. Tags still visible in the corner of the frame like she wanted people to know it was fresh. She captioned it with a dumb joke I'd made in the comments of my own post. I laughed it off. It felt cringy, but whatever, until it kept happening. She started showing up in public wearing outfits I'd worn a week before. Same accessories down to the nail polish. I caught her once at a coffee spot I go to every weekend, sitting on the patio like she'd been there for hours. She waved like nothing was weird. I smiled and left without saying anything. My fiancé thought I was exaggerating. He thought maybe she just liked my style, so I stopped posting. I archived my photos. Went private. I figured she'd lose interest if she didn't have anything to copy. Nope. She started copying things I hadn't posted. Things she would have had to see in person. Like how I laughed. I know that sounds stupid, but trust me, when someone starts imitating the exact way you laugh at something, same breath pattern, same head tilt, same little shoulder movement, it's not flattery, it's creepy. I started wondering how she knew. And then I remembered she came over once while my fiancé and I were hosting a small get-together. She walked through the place, complimenting every room, lingering a little too long near my desk. I didn't think anything of it at the time. A few weeks later, things with my fiancé started to shift. He got distant, not cold, just off. Distracted like his head was somewhere else. One night he asked me, out of nowhere, if I had ever cheated on him. I laughed because I thought he was joking. We'd been solid. No drama, no secrets. I asked him what made him say that, and he just shook his head and said never mind. Then I found the email. It came from some random address. No name, no intro. Just screenshots. Photos that looked like texts from me to someone else. Flirty stuff, time-stamped, cropped just right to look real. Some of the messages were exact phrases I'd used before with my fiancé, but I'd never sent them to anyone else. And the other side of the convo blurred out. I asked him if he got the same email. He said yeah. He'd been sitting on it for a week, trying to figure out if it was fake. He wanted to trust me, but the details were too specific. Things no one else would know. I went through everything. My old messages, my social media drafts, even voice memos I'd saved. And then it hit me. Melanie had access. That night she came over. I left my phone on the kitchen counter. She could have opened it. No password back then, just swipe up. She could have screen recorded my messages, copied the phrasing, pieced it together into fake screenshots. I told my fiancé everything. Showed him how the messages were stitched together. He believed me eventually. But the damage was there. He started double-checking things I said. Asking more questions. Less trust, more silence. And then another email came. This time from a different address. No screenshots. Just a message. He deserves better. He doesn't know the real you. But I do. No name, no sign-off, just those lines. I confronted her at a family event. Pulled her aside near the garage like we were just catching up. I asked if she sent the emails. She smiled and said I was being dramatic. Then she looked me dead in the face and said, I always wanted what you had. I didn't say anything. Just walked back inside. Later, I checked her Instagram. She posted a story in a white dress. Caption said, could get used to this. I looked at the details and realized it was the same designer as my wedding dress. Not a knockoff. The same one. From a boutique I never posted about. The only way she could have known is if she followed me that day when I went to try it on. I don't know if she was trying to take my life or ruin it, or if she didn't know the difference. We don't talk anymore. She's blocked on everything. My fiancé and I are still together, but we're different now. More cautious. More tired. Sometimes I wonder if she's still watching. If she's got another fake account, still tracking what I wear, what I say, how I laugh. Just waiting for her next version of me to build. I gave him a 5-star review because the ride was on time, the car didn't smell like gym socks, and he didn't talk too much. That's it. Just doing what people do when the ride goes fine, and you want to be nice. I didn't even look at his name until later. Just hit submit and moved on. He didn't say anything weird during the drive. Just played the radio low, and asked once if I wanted the AC on. He looked like someone's uncle. Short hair, late 30s probably, wore a windbreaker, and had those fake leather seat covers. The kind of guy you wouldn't remember 10 minutes after getting out of the car. Except I did remember him because 3 days later I got a text from a number I didn't know. It said, hey, meeting's still on for Friday at 6. I booked the room. Let me know if you need parking. No name, no context. I thought it was a wrong number. I replied with, I think you have the wrong person, and left it at that. Then the messages kept coming. Stuff like excited to finally meet in person, and should I bring the notes or do you already have them? I ignored them. It was just vague enough to seem like a mix-up. But then one came that said, you looked good yesterday. Love the green bag. That's when my stomach flipped. I had worn a green crossbody the day before, and I hadn't posted it anywhere. I'd gone to a bookstore, picked up takeout, came home. That's it. So either someone saw me in real life and recognized me, or I scrolled back through the messages. There was nothing helpful in number, just a random area code from a few towns over. I reverse searched it. Nothing. Then I thought about the ride. I opened the app and looked at my past trips. There he was, Aston. And when I tapped on his name, it showed a profile picture that matched what I remembered. Windbreaker, slight smirk, sunglasses on his head. I still didn't get how he got my number. The app doesn't give out real ones. It uses those private relay numbers that expire. But he had messaged me through a real line, so he must have gone looking. I reported it through the app, hit all buttons, inappropriate behavior, unsafe experience. I explained everything in the comment section, waited for a reply. Nothing came for days. Meanwhile, the text got more detailed. Friday still works for me. What tells me your work figured that was easier. I hadn't told anyone I worked near that area. Definitely hadn't mentioned it to any drivers, but somehow he knew. I finally got a reply from the ride app. A very copy-paste email saying they'd take my report seriously and that the driver was no longer active on the platform. That's it. No follow-up. No question. No name. I blocked his number. Changed my number, actually. Went full reset. Got a new SIM, knew everything. I figured that would stop it. And it did. For a bit. Then I got a DM. The account was new, no profile picture, no followers. It just said, "You didn't show." That was it. No threats. No details. But I knew who it was. Same tone. Same style. I didn't respond. Blocked the account. Didn't sleep that night. A week later, someone left a card on my car windshield. It looked like one of those hotel key sleeves, the little paper ones that say the room number. But inside was a note, handwritten. Same handwriting as the ride confirmation slips I'd seen drivers use. It said, "Let's reschedule." No name, no contact, just that. I felt like throwing up. I drove straight to the police station and filed a report. The cop who took it seemed half interested. Said I should keep documenting things and that technically nothing illegal had happened. No direct threat, no trespassing, no physical contact, just weird behavior. I started parking my car a few blocks from my place. Took different routes home. Covered the webcam on my laptop, even though that felt dramatic. I told myself he'd get bored, that he'd stop if he realized I wasn't reacting. But he didn't. He sent a food delivery to my job. No note, just a bag of my usual order from this Thai place I liked. It was under my name, fully paid, no pickup instructions. Just leave the front desk. When I checked the delivery account, I saw that someone had used my name and company address but a random burner email. I sat in the break room staring at the bag, too freaked out to touch it. One of my coworkers thought it was from my boyfriend. I just laughed and said, maybe. I moved after that. Not just apartments, cities. I transferred work locations and ghosted most of my socials. Deleted accounts, changed usernames, wiped old posts. I still don't know what Aston wanted. He never asked for anything. Never demanded money. Never made threats. Just kept setting up this fake meeting that I never agreed to. Like he was trying to script something that only he believed was real. I think that's what gets me the most. The idea that someone can just insert themselves into your life because you gave them 5 stars, because you were polite in a car ride and got out thinking it was done. And they weren't done. I don't take ride shares anymore. Haven't in months. Doesn't matter how late it is or how far I have to walk. I'd rather feel my legs ache than sit in someone's back seat wondering if they're gonna remember my face for the rest of their life. Hiring Kiki was honestly a relief at first. I was exhausted. My son had just turned 3. Daycare was closed half the time, and I was trying to juggle meetings with diapers and lunch schedules. She came recommended by someone from a local parenting group. Said she had a calm energy, super patient, and treated kids like they were her own. That last part, yeah, I should have paid more attention to that. The first few days she was great. Polite, on time, didn't get weird about me working from home. My kid liked her too, which wasn't always a given. She cleaned up after lunch, read to him, kept him entertained while I took Zoom calls. I even thought I'd lucked out. I gave her a key after the first month. Trusted her enough that if I ran late or had to hop on a meeting, she could let herself in and get started. I had no clue what was happening until months later. It started with comments she'd make, real subtle at first. Like, "He is so fussy after breakfast. I wonder if he's getting too much sugar," or "He seems kind of anxious when you leave the room." The kind of stuff that could pass as helpful feedback, until it started to feel more like judgment. Like she was watching me too closely. Studying how I parented, looking for cracks. And then she started acting like she knew him better than I did. She told me once that she knew his moods, and that he opened up more with her. That rubbed me the wrong way, but I didn't want to be that paranoid mom, so I let it slide. Then one day, I got a message from someone I didn't know. It was a private Instagram account. No followers, no bio, just a single post. A clip of me and my son in the living room. The camera angle was weird, low, and from behind, like from one of the nanny cams I'd set up in case of emergencies. I didn't post it. I didn't send it. I didn't even know the clip existed. I checked the rest of the account. There were more clips. Me feeding my son. Me raising my voice when he threw a toy. Me walking around in a row. Some of them had captions too. Stuff like "Mom meltdown" or "Is this okay?" And comments underneath. Strangers chiming in with judgments, assumptions, straight up insults. People saying I was unstable, careless, selfish. One even said I shouldn't have custody. I felt sick, like truly physically sick. I ripped the nanny cam out of the wall first. Then I checked all the others. 2 of them had memory cards removed. I hadn't touched them. I never even checked them because I trusted her. Because I thought we were on the same team. I confronted her the next morning. She played dumb for about 5 seconds before switching it up completely. She didn't even deny it, just hit me with, I was documenting things, in case someone needed to step in. I stood there staring at her, trying to process what she meant by step in. She said she'd already spoken to a legal advisor, that she'd seen patterns of behavior that concerned her. She acted like she was doing some noble thing, like this was an intervention, like she was saving my kid from me. I kicked her out, told her not to come back, changed the locks, took the cameras down completely. I thought that would be it, but it wasn't. I started getting emails from someone claiming to be a child welfare advocate. Said they'd received multiple videos and reports about the safety of my home. No official logo, no name, just pressure. Said they couldn't confirm custody would remain stable if certain behaviors persisted. I checked the email header. It was fake, total spoof, but the videos attached, real. More clips I'd never seen. Different angles, different days, all cut to look way worse than they were. Me yawning with my kid crying in the background. Me handing him a tablet for 5 minutes. Me on the phone saying, I can't deal with this today, which was a private voicemail to my sister. She'd been in my phone. Somehow. I wiped everything. A new phone, filed a police report. It said what she did wasn't technically illegal, no audio, all filmed in my own house where I had the cameras already, just redistributed, which apparently no one cares about unless it goes viral or gets monetized. I tried to track down the posts. Most of them got deleted after I reported them, but a few lived on. Screenshots, downloads. People shared them in parenting groups, not knowing who I was, but making assumptions. Some thought it was real. Others thought it was some awareness campaign. One account with thousands of followers reposted it with a caption about maternal burnout, like it was some case study. And the worst part, she filed for emergency custody. No, she didn't get it. It didn't go far. But she actually tried. Claimed emotional neglect, attached the edited clips, and submitted a handwritten statement about how I was unfit. The court didn't buy it, but I still had to show up. Still had to stand there in a hearing while someone I let into my home told a judge I was dangerous to my own kid. It's over now, she moved, I think. Disappeared off the internet completely after the court thing didn't go her way. But I still check the mirrors when I pass my kid's room. I still flinch when I get anonymous emails. I still wonder how many people saw me on their phone one day and thought, wow, what a terrible mom, without knowing a damn thing. I don't hire help anymore. I work nights when my kid's asleep and crash when he's at daycare. My house isn't spotless. I'm not always put together, but it's quiet now, and safe, and real. And I'll take that over being watched any day. I thought this dude was just one of those office guys who said too much but meant nothing by it. You know, the type slightly awkward, always standing too close to the printer, asking follow-up questions no one asked for. That was Daniel. He worked in it, technically part of a different department, but close enough that we crossed paths a lot. He fixed things when they broke and sometimes tried to make small talk like we were on the same level. I never thought about him much. He was harmless in that beige button-down, black running shoes kind of way. Quiet, jittery, always tapping something. Then one day he said something that didn't sit right. We were walking out of the building at the same time. Pure coincidence. And I said something like, "Finally Friday." He laughed and said, "You're gonna watch more of that baking show tonight, right?" I stopped. I hadn't mentioned the show to anyone at work. It wasn't on social media. I'd started watching it the night before. 2 episodes, nothing crazy. Just background noise while I ate. I brushed it off at first. Maybe I said something about it at lunch and forgot. Maybe someone else told him. But then it kept happening. He started referencing things I'd watched. A horror movie I'd rented late one night, a random indie series on a streaming service I didn't even realize kept activity logs. He brought them up casually like we had the same taste or something. Hey, what do you think of that twist in episode 4? That kind of stuff. Once or twice could have been coincidence, but it wasn't. He knew too much. Stuff I watched alone with headphones in while half asleep on my couch. Shows I'd never even rated or tweeted about. Just quiet viewing. Supposed to be private. It didn't stop there. He'd ask weirdly specific questions. Sleep okay last night? Or still getting those 2 a.m. wake-ups? And he'd always say it like a joke, but it never felt funny. One Monday, he walked past my desk and dropped a sticky note that said, "Try not to stay up so late. It messes with your memory." No smile, just walked off. That's when I started checking everything. My laptop, my browser history, even my calendar. Nothing obvious. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he should. I started logging out of everything. Deleted apps. Put tape over the webcam even though I hated the way it looked. Then I found the app. Hidden inside my work laptop. Not one I'd installed. Something low-key and tucked into the background processes, named like a driver or a diagnostics tool. I never would have noticed it unless I went digging. It logged everything. Every tab I opened, every file I downloaded, even what time I clicked on what. There were timestamps that lined up with when I watched shows at home. Not just work stuff. Home. Stuff I'd streamed using the browser when I was logged into personal accounts. Because I brought the laptop home a lot. For late night projects. Because that's what we did in that office. Blend work and personal life until there wasn't a difference anymore. He'd installed it, obviously. He was IT. He had admin rights. No one questioned it when he ran updates or cleaned up storage. I confronted my manager. Told him I found the tool and thought someone was using it wrong. I didn't name names yet, just wanted to see how far it went. My manager acted confused like he'd never heard of it. He said he'd check with Daniel. That same night, I found a package on my porch. Wrapped in brown paper. No label. Inside was a box with no note. Just a few things. A candle I'd posted on my private story once. A used DVD of The Baking Show. And a tiny folded piece of paper with a quote from one of the episodes I watched at 1:47 a.m. 2 weeks before. I took the box straight to the police. Filed a report. Even everything. The app. The package. The context. They asked if anything was threatening. I said, not exactly. They asked if anything was stolen. I said, only time, privacy, sanity. They made a report but said unless he made a direct threat or crossed into physical contact, there wasn't much they could do. The next day, Daniel was gone. No one said why. His desk was cleared out before I even got there. My manager said it was a mutual parting, but didn't elaborate. I didn't ask. I thought that was the end of it. I even felt relief for a bit. Until the Netflix thing happened. I opened my account to watch something and saw a new profile. Named D, it had one watch list. Mine. Copied exactly. Same shows. Same order. Same watch times. It wasn't added by me. I hadn't given out my login. But someone had been inside. I changed all my passwords. Again. Wiped every device. Factory reset. Got a new laptop. Threw the old one out. I even moved not far, but far enough to not see my old porch from my new windows. I still think about that box. How someone could sit on your digital shoulder for weeks, and you never know. How he didn't need to touch me or call me or even show up to mess with my head. Just followed the trail of data I left behind and used it to build some version of me only he understood. Sometimes I still see weird stuff pop up. Recommended shows I didn't click on. A password reset email from a device I don't recognize. It could be nothing. Could just be the internet doing internet things. Or maybe he's still watching. We went on 2 dates. That's it, 2. He was cute enough, made decent conversation, seemed stable. We grabbed drinks once, had ramen the second time, and then I realized we didn't really click. It wasn't dramatic or anything. I just didn't feel it. So I let it fade. Didn't ghost, just stopped replying with the same energy. He got the hint, or at least I thought he did. He never texted again, never followed up. It ended quietly, almost too quietly if I'm being real. A few weeks later, I started getting DMs on Instagram, not creepy ones, just weird. People asking if I was okay. Someone saying, "I read your post, stay strong." One girl messaged me, "You're brave for being honest." At first, I thought they had the wrong person, but then someone sent me a link. It was a Reddit thread. Title was, "Am I a monster for what I did?" The user was using my name, full first and last. There was no picture, but they described where I lived, where I worked, even the coffee shop I went to every weekend. They wrote this long, fake confession about pushing someone down a flight of stairs and covering it up. Said it happened at a party after an argument. Said they couldn't live with it anymore. It wasn't real. None of it. But it read like a journal entry. Like something someone would write if they were spiraling and trying to get it off their chest. At first I laughed, like, who has the time to do this? But then I scrolled down and saw the comments. People believed it. They were trying to diagnose me, trying to guess how long until I got caught. One user even said they lived in the same city and would keep an eye out. That's when my stomach dropped. Because it wasn't just one thread. There were more. Different subs. Same username or variations of it. Always some dramatic story. I lied about the miscarriage. I cheated on my husband with his brother. I left my dog at the shelter and told my kid it ran away. None of it was true. But it was always tied to me. My name, my city, my general age, sometimes even my workplace. People started tagging the posts with locations. Another one from subreddit My City X. "What's going on in my city lately?" It became a meme in one of the forums, like it was some urban legend. And then the emails started. Not many, but enough to notice, mostly anonymous. Stuff like, "Hope karma gets you," or "Rot in hell, animal killer." I even got one that said, "You ever push someone downstairs again, you better hope I'm not behind you." I didn't feel safe anymore. I reported everything I could. Reddit removed some posts, but not all. The thing about platforms is if it's not technically doxing, it's not your address or phone number. They move slow. Way too slow. I started digging through my own name, trying to figure out who could be doing it. And then I remembered the guy, the one I went on 2 dates with. I barely remembered his name, but I remembered the girl he said he was dating before me. Her name was Sandra. She still had a public Instagram. I found her in less than 10 minutes, and there she was, front-facing camera selfies, highlight reels, those little quote stories people post when they're pretending not to be mad. She was following me. I didn't even know we'd met. Maybe we crossed paths once. I don't know. But she had like a photo of mine from months ago, when I forgot existed. I scrolled her page. It was like stepping into the mind of someone who thought my life was hers. She copied my haircut. She followed my coworkers. She posted from the same bar I went to with my friends, tagging the location like she just happened to be there. But what really messed me up was when I saw she had an entire highlight reel labeled healing filled with vague posts that sounded like they were about me. I'm not crazy. I'm just honest. She wanted everything I had. Some people take your leftovers and act like they cooked the meal. I went cold. My brain was connecting the dots before I could even breathe. She hadn't gotten over the guy I barely even dated. She saw me as the reason it didn't work out, even though I didn't even want him. And this Reddit thing, this full campaign, was how she dealt with it. I couldn't prove it at first. The accounts were anonymous. But then one of them slipped. They replied to a comment and said, "Funny how the same person who pretends to love her dog leaves it outside all day." That's something I'd mentioned once in a story. How my dog barks when he's outside too long, and I bring him back in after 10 minutes. It was too specific. I hired someone to help me trace the IPs. Cost more than I wanted to spend. I was done playing defense. We traced one of the logins back to an apartment building. Hers. I went to the police with everything. Took weeks. I had to go back twice. But eventually they made contact. She denied it all. Said it was a coincidence. Said she'd never even met me. But when they checked her laptop, the accounts were still logged in. That was enough. She got a fine and some kind of internet monitoring for a year. Nothing big. Nothing that made the damage disappear. Because here's the thing. Those posts. They're still out there. Screenshotted, reposted. Used in cringe compilations and crazy confessions YouTube videos. I see my name in the comments sometimes, even now. Sometimes it's not even about me anymore. It's just a thing people say when they want to sound unhinged. Okay, Sandra. Like I'm a character in a story I never agreed to be in. I changed my name online, started using a shortened version, went private everywhere. Deleted old stuff. I'd keep my circles small now, real small. I still think about those two dumb dates sometimes. How something so minor got twisted into this massive lie that followed me for months. All because someone couldn't handle being left and decided I had to pay for it. And honestly, I don't think she cared about him at all. I think it was always about me. The birthday party was small. Just close friends, a few coworkers, my sister brought cupcakes, nothing over the top. It was in my backyard. Plastic chairs, fairy lights, takeout containers scattered on the table. I hired a freelance photographer because I didn't want to deal with blurry phone pictures again like last year. That was Ray. He came recommended by someone I barely knew from work. Said he did good candid shots, affordable, super chill. I emailed him, he responded fast, even offered a small discount if I let him shoot freely without strict posing. Said it helped him capture the vibe. I was fine with that. I figured it meant less awkward smiles and more fun group stuff. He showed up early, asked me where the lighting was best, and started walking around with his camera before people even arrived. He didn't talk much, just gave a polite nod now and then. Wore all black, had a crossbody bag with way too many lenses, and kept adjusting his watch like he was waiting on something. During the party, I barely noticed him. He kept his distance. I saw him crouch behind the table once to get a shot of the candles. Another time, he was way back near the fence, snapping wide angles. Nothing stood out. I even thanked him when he left. Told him to send the link when they were ready. He said they'd be edited and delivered by the weekend. I forgot about it after that. A few days later, he mailed me a link. Password protected. I opened it at lunch. The pictures were fine. Some of them were great, actually. He got this one of my friends mid-laugh, another of my sister making a toast I didn't even remember. But there were also a few photos that felt too close. Like one of me sitting on the porch alone while everyone else was inside, holding a drink and staring at nothing. Another of me biting my lip, cropped in tight like a zoom lens from across the yard. One of me walking away toward the house with my dress riding up just slightly, not in an obvious way, but still. It made me uncomfortable. It felt like he was watching me, not photographing the party. I closed the tab and didn't look at them again. Until I got the package. It came 2 weeks later. No return address. Just a flat cardboard box. Inside was a single framed photo. Black wood frame, no glass, matte finish. It was me, in my bedroom. Standing in front of the mirror, back turned, holding up my hair like I was checking how it looked. I remember the moment. I had been rushing to get ready, deciding between 2 earrings. I closed the door behind me, where I thought I had. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't understand how he got it. He wasn't in the house. No one else was in the room. And there was no mirror in the backyard, nothing that reflected that angle. It had to have been taken from inside. The photo wasn't grainy. It was sharp. Like from a camera that was already placed in there. It gave me this cold, still feeling in my chest that didn't go away for days. I emailed him immediately. No subject line, just, "What is this?" He replied the next day. "Artistic bonus. You seemed like someone who would appreciate being seen." That's what he wrote. Like it was a compliment, like it was generous, like I was supposed to be flattered. I didn't reply. I went straight to the police. They took the frame, wrote up a report, but said unless I could prove how the photo was taken, there wasn't much they could do yet. They said maybe it was an old picture someone else took. That didn't make sense. I didn't even have that mirror last year. I tore my room apart, checked for hidden cameras. Nothing. Checked every socket, every light bulb, even pulled up floorboards near the bed. I felt like I was losing my mind. Everything that was mine. Normal. I went through the online gallery again. Noticed he deleted some photos. Ones I remembered seeing the first time. A shot of me bending down to tie my shoe. One of me through the window while I laughed on the phone with my friend. Gone. But not before I'd already downloaded them. I saved everything. Put it in a folder. Labeled it with the date. Took it all back to the police. They said they'd follow up. Never heard back. Then the second package came. No frame this time. Just prints. 5 of them. Me sitting on the couch. Me walking barefoot to the kitchen. Me curled up under a blanket watching a show. remote half off the cushion, all from outside the house, through the windows. I stopped using my living room after that, closed every curtain, sat in the dark for a week. My phone kept buzzing with spam calls. I changed my number. Stopped checking email. I didn't even tell my friends. I didn't want to explain why a guy with a camera suddenly knew the layout of my entire house. I kept thinking about that first shoot, how he'd walked around my yard, how he could have easily tested a door, left something behind, come back later. I trusted that he was just another awkward freelancer trying to make some money. But he wasn't interested in the party or the people. He wanted the version of me that didn't know anyone was looking. Eventually, I moved, quietly, didn't post about it. Paid cash for rent, got a different name on the mailbox. I stopped ordering anything to the house, stopped using delivery apps, even got paranoid about smart TVs. He never sent another package. No more photos. But I still think about that framed one. The one of me in the mirror. The way he caught me in a moment that I didn't even know existed. And then decided to keep it for himself before sending it to me like a gift. Like he thought I'd thank him. It was just supposed to be a quick visit. I had this pain in my side that wouldn't go away and figured I'd rule out something stupid like appendicitis. My regular doctor was booked, so I ended up at this urgent care a few neighborhoods over. Basic setup. Plastic chairs, soft jazz playing overhead, walls painted that beige gray they use to keep you calm. The nurse who checked me in was named Ola. She had one of those soft voices that made you feel like you were being tucked into bed, even when she was asking if you pooped that day. She asked the usual stuff, symptoms, meds, allergies, and typed it all into her tablet with this calm rhythm like she'd done it 1,000 times. She made eye contact in that way nurses sometimes do when they're trying to be comforting, but hers felt a little too long. I remember thinking it was probably just her style, that maybe she was trying to be extra gentle because I looked tired or anxious or whatever. It wasn't a big deal at the time. They sent me home with instructions to hydrate and take some OTC meds. Nothing serious. Ola waved as I left and said something like, "Take care of yourself, okay?" Very nursey, very normal. I didn't think about her again for a while. Then one night, I got a call from a pharmacy I didn't use. They left a voicemail saying my prescription was ready. I hadn't been prescribed anything. I didn't even know the name of the place. I figured it was just a mix-up. Wrong number, maybe someone with a similar name. I deleted the voicemail. Then it happened again. Different pharmacy, different drug, same message, that I had a prescription waiting. This time I called back. The pharmacist confirmed my name, my date of birth, and the medication. Something for anxiety. I told them I hadn't been prescribed anything and asked who sent it in. She said the provider's name was Ola. I didn't even know nurses could call in scripts like that. I thought only doctors could do it. But apparently, in some clinics, depending on the setup, they're allowed to if they're under a supervising physician. I felt my stomach twist, because I knew exactly who it was. I called the clinic. Got transferred around a few times. Finally, someone told me Ola didn't work there anymore. Said she had moved on. That's all they said. Wouldn't tell me anything else. Over the next few weeks, I started getting more calls, more voicemails. Pharmacies from different parts of the city telling me about new prescriptions. Sleep meds, muscle relaxers. Once, something for migraines. Some had insurance info attached. Some didn't, but all had my name. I changed my number. It helped for a bit, but then I got a letter in the mail, handwritten envelope. Inside was a note that just said, "Are you feeling better?" No signature, just those words. It was her handwriting. I remembered it from the clipboard she held when I first checked in. Loopy capital letters really neat, like she practiced writing with a ruler under the page. That's when I started going through my medical records. Logged into the portal, checked my recent visits, request logs, anything that looked off. I saw someone had accessed my chart 5 times since that appointment, all logged under the same internal ID, Ola. The most recent one was just 2 days before I got the letter. I called the patient privacy line. They took it more seriously than the clinic did. Said they'd investigate, that there would be a formal review and someone would be in touch. In the meantime, I started feeling like I wasn't alone in my own life. I'd walk into the kitchen and find something slightly off. A drawer left open. A spoon moved. Once, The back door was unlocked when I was sure I'd locked it. I got cameras. Didn't catch anything, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been in my space. I stopped going out alone, changed my insurance info, froze my credit, did everything the internet tells you to do when someone's creeping into your life through the cracks. Then I got another letter. Same handwriting. This one had a prescription printout inside. It wasn't filled, just the recommendation part. Signed Ola RNN. It said, patient showing signs of prolonged burnout and emotional numbness. Recommend daily check-ins. Daily check-ins. That wording messed me up more than anything else. Not because of what it said, but because it sounded like something I'd once mumbled under my breath while getting ready for work. Alone. No one around. One of those half-jokes you say to the mirror when everything feels flat. I'd never typed it, never posted it. Just said it to myself. Which made me think, did she bug my apartment? It sounded crazy even as I thought it, but what else could explain it? I turned off every smart device I owned, unplugged the voice assistant, covered my laptop camera again, even though I hadn't used it at home in weeks. Started whispering when I talked to myself, just in case. The last thing I got from her was in the letter. It was a voicemail. Blocked number. Static at first. Then her voice, quiet and weirdly calm, like she was standing in a hallway. She said, I know you're not sleeping. You looked so tired the last time I saw you. But I still see you. It's okay. You're okay. That was it. I saved it. Played it once for the detective when I reported everything again. This time, they actually opened a case. I handed over everything. Letters, prescriptions, timestamps, portal access logs. I haven't heard anything since. She disappeared. Deleted all of her socials, scrubbed her info from every directory. I couldn't find anything under her name after that, not even a new job listing. But I still get twitchy when I hear a pharmacy voicemail. Still check my doors twice. Still talk to myself out loud. Because someone once held my chart in their hands for 5 minutes and decided they wanted in. The first time Kyle messaged me, I actually thought it was sweet. He was the pastor's son at the church my family's gone to for years. One of those golden boy types. Clean haircut, always volunteering, knew his way around a piano. People loved him. Moms especially. My mom called him steady, like a walking bedtime story. We weren't friends, but he followed me on every platform. He'd like my stories, comment on things like God has a plan under selfies, drop fire emojis under Bible verses. It was harmless at first. A little much, but whatever. Church people overshare. Then he DM'd me saying he was praying for me. Nothing unusual about that. I posted a meme the night before about being tired all the time. Totally vague, not even serious, but he took it as a signal. Said God put me on his heart. Said he felt led to reach out and be a source of guidance. Again, kind of intense, but I'd grown up around this stuff. People take any emotion and turn it into a testimony. I told him I appreciated it, thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. He started messaging me every day, asking if I'd read certain scriptures, telling me about unseen battles and how some sins feel like habits but are actually strongholds. He never said what he thought I was doing wrong, just dropped hints like he knew something I didn't. I stopped responding. He'd still send long blocks of text, even when I left him on read. Sometimes they'd start off nice, like just checking in, and then pivot into, you don't need to run from the people who care. I wanted to block him, but it felt messy, especially since his dad ran the whole church. Then people at church started acting weird. One lady I barely knew pulled me aside after service and said, I've been praying for your heart. God forgives, even when people can't. I laughed at first, thought she confused me with someone else. Then it happened again. Different person. Same vague, weird tone. Like I'd done something awful, and they were all just silently loving me through it. I started hearing whispers. People saying I was falling away. That I was unequally yoked. That I was struggling with morality. I hadn't done anything. I wasn't dating anyone, wasn't partying. I went to work, came home, fed my dog, went to sleep. My biggest sin was probably skipping prayer night. So I asked my cousin if she'd heard anything. She hesitated, then pulled me aside and showed me something. It was a printout. Not a text, not a screenshot. A full-on printout of a conversation that looked like it was between me and some guy. Explicit stuff, flirty messages, even photos. The texts were styled like mine. Same slang, same emojis. It looked real at first glance. But I didn't write any of it. The worst part, it had been printed and left in the back room during youth group. Someone just dropped it off anonymously and let the gossip do the rest. I knew immediately who it was. Kyle. He had access to my posts, my photos, my writing style. He knew just enough to fake it. And the messages, they lined up with the stuff he'd been hinting at in our DMs. The whole sins you think are secret thing. It all clicked. I confronted him after service the next Sunday. Right in the parking lot. I didn't yell. I just asked if he did. He didn't even try to deny it. Just looked at me and said, "You needed a wake-up call. Sometimes truth needs to be exposed." Exposed, like he was doing some holy whistleblower routine. I told his dad. I showed him the messages, the printout, the DMs. He said he'd talk to Kyle privately. That was it. No apology. No announcement. No one told the church it was fake. It just moved on like nothing happened. But people didn't forget. I stopped only after that. Couldn't stand the stares, the polite smiles, the women who looked me up and down like I was going to steal their husbands, even though I didn't do a damn thing. I found out later that Kyle had done similar stuff before. Said a girl from another church tempted him into sin and tried to get her banned from worship nights. Told someone else she needed spiritual correction after she posted bikini pics on vacation. The guy used church as a shield. Like if he racked it in God talk, it didn't count as harassment. He still messages me sometimes, always from new accounts. Burner emails with names like Truthseeker08 and Watch Your Walk. It's always the same tone, like he's warning me, like I'm one step from ruining my life and he's the only one brave enough to say it. The worst part. People still see him as a leader. He plays keyboard on Sundays, still prays over teenagers, still leads small groups where he talks about purity and accountability. No one pulled him aside and asked for a wake-up call. No one printed fake messages with his name on them. He just kept going. And I left. I go to a different church now, one where nobody knows me and nobody assumes they do. I don't talk about what happened unless someone asks. Even then, I keep it short. Because nothing happened. And also everything happened. All I did was post a meme. All he did was decide that meant I needed saving. And from that point on, the version of me he invented became more real to some people than the one who actually lived here. And no one ever handed me a printout to explain that part. Brooke was always around. She wasn't family, but she might as well have been. She was my sister's best friend since middle school, which meant she was basically a fixture in my house for like a decade. Sleepovers, birthday parties, Sunday mornings in pajamas watching cartoons on the floor. My mom called her other daughter. I just called her loud. We were never close. She was always trying too hard, always wanted to be part of everything. She'd borrow clothes from my sister and accidentally take my stuff too. One time I found my hoodie in her gym bag, and she acted surprised if it had climbed in there by itself. Whatever, it was annoying but not serious. Years passed. People grew up. My sister moved to another city, got married, left the orbit. I stayed. Got a decent job. Found my rhythm. Didn't think much about Brooke. She stayed behind too, still in our town, still posting selfies from the same restaurants, still acting like she was 17 even though she wasn't. Then one day, I got a food delivery with a note tucked inside the bag. It was handwritten on one of those little sticky receipts. Saw you in that red dress again. Still your color. I stopped mid-bite. Because here's the thing, I don't wear red. Like, ever. I hate red on me. I don't own any red dresses. I don't even like red lipstick. But a few months back, I'd borrowed one from a friend for this random gallery event. I never posted about it. No pics, no tags. I wore it once and returned it. The only people who saw me were whoever was at that gallery that night, and maybe the driver who dropped me off. So getting a note like that made my whole body pause. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a weird joke. Maybe the delivery guy wrote it and got the wrong house, but the handwriting was neat. like way too neat for someone just scribbling between orders. It felt deliberate. I checked the order history. It came from my own account. So now I'm thinking maybe someone hacked it. I changed my password and moved on. Then it happened again. Different night, different restaurant. Same note. This one said, "Don't eat too fast. You always do when you're stressed." That's not something anyone would know unless they'd seen me eat in person, multiple times. I scrolled through my order history and started noticing patterns. Notes attached to specific meals I'd only get when I was working late or feeling down. Notes that mentioned outfits I hadn't posted. One even said, "Your hair looked better curly. You should go back to that." I hadn't worn my hair curly in over a year. I hadn't posted it that way since 2022. I called the delivery company. Told them someone was putting creepy notes in my food. They told me they don't allow that kind of thing and that their drivers aren't supposed to include anything not printed. They said it had to be coming from the person placing the order. And the person placing the order was me. Sort of. Because it was my account, but the orders were placed automatically, like they were being sent from my history. Repeats. Same meals, same addresses, just with slight timing changes and now notes. So someone had access. I checked the login activity and saw there were sign-ins from a device in my city that wasn't mine. I reset everything, changed my email, froze the account, made a new one under a new name, and then I got another delivery. No name, no charge, no receipt. Just a bag with my favorite sandwich and a note inside that said, "Some habits are hard to quit." I stood there holding it, and I suddenly remembered something. Years ago, Brooke and I were in my room while my sister was packing for a trip. We were messing around on my laptop, ordering food. I let Brooke log in with my account because she didn't want to make her own. I forgot about it. Never changed the password after that. That was maybe 4 years ago. I called my sister. Asked if she still talked to Brooke. She hesitated. Then told me she's been kind of intense lately. Said some weird stuff about you. I asked what kind of stuff. She said Brooke had mentioned running into me a lot lately. Said I looked so put together and like life agreed with me. My sister thought it was just aberration. I told her what had been happening. My sister went quiet. Then said, "That actually makes a lot of sense." Turns out, Brooke had been asking about me for months. Not just casual stuff. Detailed things. Where I ate, who I dated, what my new apartment looked like. That's when I knew it was her. She'd been watching my delivery history, using my old login, copying my meals, tracking my mood based on what I ordered. And those notes, she was writing them like we were in a conversation I never agreed to. I blocked her everywhere. Sent her a message before I did, saying I knew what she was doing and had cut it out. No reply, just silence. Then I got a letter in the mail, no return address. It just said, "Red would have looked good on me too." That's when I lost it. I filed a report. Went to the company with screenshots, login logs, everything. They disabled the old account permanently and flagged the IP. Not much else they could do. Brooke never showed up in person. Never texted. Just vanished into the same town she never left. Still probably watching. Still probably thinking we shared something that wasn't even mutual. And now I'm going to order food under my real name. Don't leave my blinds open. Don't trust the phrase recommended by your order history. Because someone turned it into a love letter. It started with yoga. I joined this early morning class near my office just to do something different. Desk life was killing my back and I thought stretching might help. It was small, laid back, mostly regulars. People came in half asleep, didn't talk much, just unrolled mats and existed quietly, which I liked. Then one day this guy showed up. Mid-30s maybe, kind of tall, decent shape, wore a shirt that said something corny like Namist and chill. He sat up 2 mats away from me and didn't say a word. Just did the routine. Left when it ended, completely forgettable. I started noticing him more over the next couple weeks. He was always in the same spots, same time, always alone. We never spoke. I figured he was just another office guy trying not to fall apart physically like the rest of us. Then he started showing up after class too. Like once, I stopped at the juice bar nearby, and he was in line behind me. Didn't say anything, but stood there like he belonged. Another time I walked to my car and saw him 2 spaces over, just sitting there with the engine off, pretending to scroll. I told myself it was nothing. Then he finally spoke. One morning after class, he tapped me on the shoulder while I was rolling up my mat and said, "I didn't realize how deep you were until I read what you wrote." I stared at him. He said it like we'd been talking, like I'd shared something with him. But I hadn't. I didn't even know his name. I laughed, trying to play it off, and asked, "What did I write?" He smiled like it was a secret, said, "It's okay. It meant something. You're not alone." I left fast after that. Later that day, I sat at my desk thinking through everything. What did he mean? What could he have read? I hadn't posted anything deep or emotional recently. I scrolled through my social media, all surface level stuff. Food, sunset, dumb quotes, nothing deep. Then it hit me. My texts. I've been messaging my coworker's wife recently, just friendly stuff. She and I had gotten close since our teams overlapped. We vented about work, sent memes, talked about her cat's Instagram. Normal stuff. But sometimes I'd get real in those messages, like a burnout about feeling stuck. Oh, how no one really sees you when you're doing okay on the outside. None of it was meant for public eyes. And that coworker, her husband, was Connor. I didn't put it together at first because she always referred to him by his nickname, never Connor. But it was him. Same build, same beard, same guy from yoga. He must have gone through her phone, read our messages, and somehow twisted it. That same week, she stopped replying. I figured she was busy. Then I saw her at work and she avoided me completely. Walked right past like we didn't spend months texting every day. I felt sick. Then Connor messaged me from an unknown number. He wrote, "I get it now. You don't have to pretend. I feel the same." I didn't respond. Blocked the number. Walked around with this heavy feeling in my stomach for days. He kept showing up at yoga. Smiled more. Waved when I walked in. Sometimes brought extra water bottles and left one on my mat like it was a gift. One time he leaned over and said, "You breathe differently when you're stressed." I noticed. I stopped going. I thought it would end there, but it didn't. He showed up outside my office building one evening. Said he was just grabbing dinner nearby. I lied and said I had a meeting. He nodded like he didn't believe me and said, "You don't need to lie. I understand needing space." He said it like we were in a fight. I started telling people, HR, my manager, the yoga studio. Everyone took it seriously but didn't do much. There was no proof he was threatening me, just weird behavior. Then he sent a long message from a new number. Said he was tired of pretending. Said he thought I was dropping hints through our conversations. That I clearly felt something and he wasn't afraid of it. He even quoted a line from one of my old texts to his wife, something dumb I'd said about wanting to feel understood without explaining myself. He threw it back at me like it was a love letter. I reported it. Again. To work, to the yoga place, to my phone carrier. This time HR took it more seriously since it involved another employee's family. His wife denied everything. Said she didn't know what was going on. Said she didn't give him access to her phone. I didn't push it. She looked more confused than anyone. Connor was asked to resign a few weeks later. But before he left, he sent one last thing. A handwritten letter, no return address, just folded neatly in a blank envelope left on my windshield. It said, "I wish we had more time to align. I could have been someone who saw you better than anyone else, but I guess people get scared when they're actually understood." Understood. That's what he called it. Like reading private texts written to someone else and inserting himself into my life with some kind of deep connection. Like what he did wasn't crossing the line, it was fate. I don't go to that yoga studio anymore. Changed my phone number. Blocked every unknown contact that comes through. I still have the letter, but I haven't opened it since that first time. Sometimes I still wonder if he believed all of it. If in his head, he really thought there was something between us. Or if it was just about being close to someone who didn't ask him to be there. She was one of those professors people warned you about in a half-joking way. She'll either love you or ruin your life. That's what someone said to me on the first day of class. I thought they were being dramatic. She didn't look intimidating. Wore flowy cardigans and those soft-soled shoes you only see on faculty. Smiled with her whole face. told stories that went on too long but always tied them back to the lecture. Her name was Tiffany. She taught advanced media theory, and she made it sound like philosophy for screen addicts. I liked the class, honestly. She liked me too. Pulled me aside after the second week to say she saw something in me. Asked me to consider helping her with a research project. I said sure. She gave me extra reading, told me to email her anytime. It felt good, like I was finally getting noticed for the right reasons. She gave me feedback on everything. Extra credit I didn't ask for. Detailed notes in the margins of my essays, longer than the essays themselves. She'd make references to stuff I said in class, quoting me back to myself. One time I made a dumb offhand comment about how the internet feels like a mirror held by strangers, and she wrote a whole paragraph about it in the next assignment's comments. It was weird, but not bad, just intense. Then I started dating someone. Just some guy in the same department. Totally normal. We met through a group project, hung out, got along. Started seeing each other casually. He wasn't in Tiffany's class, didn't even know who she was. I didn't think twice about it. But after that, her vibe shifted. She stopped being as worn in class. Stopped calling on me. Stopped writing those long feedback notes. I thought maybe I had done something wrong, so I asked if everything was okay. She said, of course, why wouldn't it be? But it was the kind of answer that made your stomach knot. I let it go. Figured maybe she was just busy. Until I got my midterm grade. It wasn't a fail, but it was low. Way lower than anything I'd gotten from her before. I read the comments 3 times, trying to figure out what I missed. They were vague, stuff like unclear argument, and surface-level analysis, which didn't even match the rubric she handed out. I asked to meet and go over it. She said she didn't have time. Then she started making low comments in class. She'd say things like, some students think they can do the bare minimum once they get attention elsewhere. Or you can't flirt your way through theory. Not to me directly, but it was clear. People started looking over when she said stuff like that. Some laughed. I sat there staring at my notebook, pretending it wasn't about me. My boyfriend noticed too. Asked if I was okay. I told him not to worry. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Then I got the email. It was from the department chair. Said there were concerns about academic integrity in Tiffany's class. That a complaint had been submitted anonymously accusing me of receiving unfair treatment and preferential grading earlier in the semester. The chair wanted to schedule a meeting. I showed up with every assignment, every timestamp submission, every syllabus highlight. I laid it all out. The chair looked uncomfortable the whole time. Said the complaint had come with detailed claims and a timeline. Tiffany hadn't just said I was cheating the system. She'd built an entire story around it. She said I manipulated her, that I'd used my personal connections to get ahead, that I'd used my romantic relationship as leverage to distract from slipping performance. She didn't name him, but the timeline made it clear she was referring to my boyfriend. It was surreal, like she'd watched a different version of my life and decided it was real. The chair said nothing was conclusive, but they were monitoring the situation. Then Tiffany failed me on the final paper. Straight fail. 0. The comments said I plagiarized a theory I'd actually presented in class weeks earlier. Something I had emails proving she'd encouraged me to explore. When I appealed it, she submitted a response to the committee saying I had crossed ethical boundaries and that my work had become emotionally manipulative. Emotionally manipulative. What does that even mean in an academic setting? I wasn't sleeping with her. I wasn't bribing her. I was literally just existing, and somehow that became too much. Then I found out she'd been emailing the dean. From a different address. Someone forwarded me the message. She'd used a fake name, said she was a concerned student, and accused me of trading intimacy for grades. She attached screenshots of my social media. Old photos. Harmless stuff. Me with my boyfriend at a concert. Selfies at night. Dumb captions. None of it even related to school. But she framed it like it meant something. The writing sounded exactly like her. I brought it to the school. Filed a formal complaint. Attached everything. Emails, assignments, even a few weird messages she'd sent me early on that felt a little too personal in hindsight. Stuff like, you remind me of who I wanted to be, and don't let them dull you just because you shine differently. Nothing came with it. They said there wasn't enough to prove malicious intent. She's still teaching, still quoting her students back to themselves, still probably picking a new favorite every semester. I transferred out of the department, finished the rest of my degree on the edge of burnout, avoided everyone, graduated without walking, My boyfriend stayed with me through all of it. Said he always had this gut feeling about her, like she looked at me too long when I talked, or smiled too hard when she asked about my writing. I still think about the way she said my name in class, drawn out like it was personal, like she already had a story in her head and I was just filling in the dialogue. And when I didn't follow the script, she rewrote it without me.